easier this morning by actually attaching something to a spline. We're going to draw where we want it to go. And again, I'm just using the default 3-second animation for demonstration purposes. So let's go into the camera top for a moment. And I want it to kind of go this way, and then it's going to go around that. Then it's going to come over here. That's the path I want this thing to take. Crazy path, but it's a path. And I've got a sphere that I want to go along that path. And let's make it a little smaller. Okay. There is a special tag. When we added materials to an object, we created a texture tag for the object. There are a set of different tags that we can use here in C4D. I think I used the target tag to get the light to follow along. I showed you that in the camera to follow along. Same basic concept. We're going to use an align to spline tag.
Use what?
Align to spline. And here's the path. I want it to follow this path. Now when I drew that path, position 0 is where I started drawing that path. Position 100% is where I ended drawing that path. And so I'm going to have to animate the position of the align to spline tag from 0 to 100. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yes, yes, okay, good. All right, so let's put it in perspective and see what happens. So I'm going to work on my align to spline tag. I'm going to add a property track for position. It's going to start off, let's say, at 100. You want it to go forward and backward or just forward?
Forward.
Okay. So it's going from position 0 to position 100. And I did it again. From position 0 to position 100. Come on, Greg. Stop. Key value 0. Thank you. From position 0 to position 100.
Now, are you able to add an extrusion to the spline and still follow the...
I would need 2 separate extrusions. And so what I would do if I wanted to follow along the extrusion, I'm going to duplicate that spline. I'm just holding the control key and dragging it. Now I'm going to go up here and create an extrude NURB. Drop that second spline in there. And because of the way I drew it, I don't want it extruding on the X, I want it extruding on the Y.
See, with my animation, I'm trying to create like a racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there a way to... From this angle, it looks like it's kind of like going...
I've got it going straight up and down.
Yeah, going vertically as opposed to like a flat horizontal plane.
I don't know that I'd use an extrude NURB on that.
What would you use instead?
If I want a flat racetrack,
We could talk about it
sweep, I'd probably use a sweep NURB.
Sweep.
And then sweep a flat object. That way when it turns, the track actually turns. An extrusion isn't going to bend with the curves. And so that's how I would do it. Now that I have this, by the way, if I need to change that path in any way, shape, or form, I can. At this point, I want it jumping off the track. Boop. And so that's how I usually do it. I usually start off at the top view and then change it around on the Y, and then if I need to change it on the Z as well, I can. And then to get my path to to line up again, just delete that and duplicate it. And now my little track, so to speak. Yes, makes sense?
Yeah.
Dorothea, you with me? Okay, cool. All right, so that's, now you can actually do, and here's where we have lots of fun. Command N, working still on this. Camera new, not camera, camera top. I'm going to have it follow along this circle, and then I want it to follow along that circle. And so, again, I'm just using a little sphere. We could do any number of things to it. There's my little sphere. So I want sphere to have an aligned to spline. I'm going to start off with my spline path. So that's 0. And I'm going to move that second circle so it's right next to that. Okay. That's going to jump over there. I need to rotate that circle. That's all right. It's going to jump over here when it jumps on it. Okay. So I'm going to animate my align to spline. From, with a position, create add position, from 0, hopefully, to 100. Okay, got it. Now, when it jumps, it's going to go from 100 to 0. So it's going to go around this way, then it's going to jump and come around that way. And so I'm going to just duplicate this to go from 100 to 0. If I were to play it now, what's happening? It's staying on that first spline, and that's not really what I want. Right? I want it to switch splines, and so on my align to spline path, I have a property track that says spline path. And so it's going to start off on spline path. Thank you. On circle. And then at this point, it's going to jump over to circle 1. So it's going from 0 to 100 on circle, then it's switching spline paths and going from 100 to 0 on circle 2. Yes? Ooh, ah, cool? Okay. And then I could even do something like duplicate that sphere, which is going to also do, now I've got 2 spheres going around. And again, we're gonna, this is the second one. It's going to start off behind and gradually catch up. So instead of having to animate it a second time, I'm just duplicating that whole movement and then just offsetting the keyframes down here in order to change the timing. Did that? Is it that you're tired or that you're just trying to comprehend?
Both.
Okay. Ask your question. So what I did, when we duplicate the object, let's talk about what I did. I've animated the object. You're good up to that point?
Yes.
Kind of? Okay. When I since I already have an animation track attached to that object, as well as an align to spline tag already assigned to that, when I duplicate that, it actually is duplicating all this as well. Okay? So I'm going to take this align to spline tag, the second align to spline tag, And you can